Whether you are a beauty content creator, lifestyle blogger, home DIYer, maybe you make delicious recipe videos here on YouTube or do tech reviews. Maybe you're just a mom who wants to make a new, fun, clean, and organized space for your kiddos. This is a project that you're definitely gonna wanna take a peek at. On today's video, I'm gonna walk you through a step-by-step process of how to make one of these giant pegboards of your very own. Not only is this project super inexpensive to make, but it can also be completed within a couple of hours. All right, friends, let's dive into today's video. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Up until this video, you'll know that I have really only been focusing on health and wellness, self-care, meal prep ideas, and nutritious keto and paleo recipes. However, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that at the beginning of this year, I decided to change gears a little bit and I started to dabble in more home DIY projects, building stuff, and crafts. Because I do have some plans to incorporate some of that content and add a few new series here on my YouTube channel, I thought that it was only fitting that I create a brand new backdrop for that content. One of my favorite things about this giant pegboard, aside from the fact that it is really inexpensive and easy to make, is how versatile it is. You can literally style this 100 different ways, depending on the type of content that you create. And I also love that it can constantly evolve depending on the type of videos that you decide to make here on YouTube. Ready to make a giant pegboard of your very own? Let's get started.
So this is my studio space. After going back and forth with how I wanted to build this pegboard, I finally decided I would just mount it straight onto the wall. This way I would never need any help moving it and it would always be ready to go when I was ready to film. I put casters on my storage rack so I can easily move things around when I needed. This was definitely the best option for this space. Now that I had a plan in place and measurements, it was time to build. First thing we needed to do was cut the wood down to size. I measured the length and the width I needed and then just made sure that everything was as straight and square as possible using this steel carpenter's square. This will help make sure that all of those right angles are perfect. Then we just cut the piece out using our rotary saw. If you don't have this tool or any large saw, just know that you can actually have the wood cut down to size right at Home Depot or Lowe's. This is such a great service for beginners or those living in smaller spaces without the room for big tools. Then I just measured out where all of the holes for the pegs would go. Final size on my pegboard is 60 inches and I decided to space my pegs out 5 inches apart. This way there was no odd measurements or too much math involved. To make sure that the holes were all lined up properly and evenly spaced, it's best to actually draw a grid right onto your wood. Then every point where your grid lines meet, that's where you're gonna drill a hole. From here, you just need to grab your drill and make your holes. I decided to use this drill press just because it offers better accuracy and more power than a standard handheld drill on its own. It's super easy to use, easy to set up, and it doesn't take up too much space. You could easily get away with just drilling your holes without this, but I wanted to make sure that everything was perfectly straight and the drill wouldn't be able to get away from me when I was making all of the holes. It's also nice having the little handle for better stability when drilling. Originally, when we first started this project, Joe said it wasn't needed. Then once we were done using it, he actually said, yeah, that press is actually pretty handy. I swear sometimes I do know what I am doing, dear husband of mine. There are really only a few pieces that need to get put together on this drill press. Just a couple of screws, the stopper, and you are pretty much ready to go. So there are a few options to drill holes in this larger size, but I just grabbed this DeWalt 3/4 inch by 6 inch spade drill bit. It was only around $6 on Amazon and I got it delivered the next day, so I didn't even need to go anywhere else. Just loosen the little lever on the press with the wrench that comes with it, slide in the drill bit and tighten to secure. Then you just need to get the depth on it to match the wood that you are drilling into, and then set the stopper. As long as you see it will go through your piece of wood, you are all set. See how straight and accurate the holes are? No odd angles or any veering. I worked my way through the entire grid and made all of my peg holes in about 3 minutes flat. Next, it's time to make the shelves. You could easily use any scrap wood that you have around, but I just cut down the large board that we got so it would match since I was leaving this unfinished. I decided I wanted these shelves to come out 5.5 inches from the board, so I cut a long piece of wood and then just trimmed that board down for each shelf. I used the table saw in this just because the wood we were using was still quite large. You could get away with other types of saws, but this was just going to be much faster for me. I also like that it has guides built right in, so I just needed to set the length once and then cut multiple shelves at the same time. My largest shelf was around 26 inches. Then I did a few shelves that were 14 inches and ones that were 9 inches. Thinking back now, I think I want a much longer one to go across the entire width of the board also. Having different size shelves will break things up on the pegboard and make it look more visually appealing and unique. With the pegboard pretty much done and the shelves cut out, you just need to cut down your dowels next. Since I was using a 3/4 inch drill bit, I grabbed 3/4 inch dowels as well. Then I just cut each of those down to 5.5 inches, which was the depth of the shelves on my pegboard. Pegboard ready, shelves ready, dowels cut. We just have a couple of easy steps left. You're going to want to sand down your pieces, which is the least fun part of any project, but something you really just have to do anytime that you're working with wood. Nobody has time for a splinter, and you also want to make sure that you get those grid lines erased if you plan on leaving this natural and not painting it like I did. Something else I did on my pegboard was I sanded the holes for the dowels also. This is going to ensure that they just go in really nice and easy and aren't too snug. I used this little sanding bit on my Dremel tool and it made the process go by so much faster. Just a few wiggles around each hole and you are set. Last step is adding some finishing tape to the edges of the shelves. This is just going to make a really nice finished looking edge to them. It's super handy if you're making furniture and need things to be perfect. It has glue on the back, and when you iron it onto the edges of your piece, it just melts right onto your wood. Just measure out the area you are covering, trim roughly to size, then iron it on. Depending on the size wood that you have used, you may have some excess that you need to trim off. They actually make a little tool for this, but I found that I was much better at just using a knife. See how the trim just finished the edge off? Just makes everything look so much more professionally finished. The building process is now complete and you are ready to mount your pegboard. There are plenty of different ways that you could do this, but we had these extra plates that lock into each other from another project that we worked on. Regardless of how you decide to hang your pegboard though, you're going to want to make sure that you get this drilled into the studs in your wall. I used this stud finder, then marked the studs, then used a level to mark the line for the plates we were using. These plates have quite a few holes in them for screws, so I just made sure that at least one of them would go into each of the studs. Then I just use anchors for a few of the other holes. Then you screw the other plate right onto the board itself, and these will fit right on top of one another. If you rather not use plates or attach any hangers to the back of the board like this, you could also just find the studs in the wall and drill right into them. You'll just have the screws showing on the front side, but if that doesn't bother you, then that's probably the easiest method for mounting this pegboard. The project is now officially complete. All you need to do is style it up. I've already played around a handful of times and I love how I can make it look completely different every single time. This is such a fun way to display and organize a space. And because this pegboard was mainly only going to be used as a backdrop for YouTube videos, I can easily just tear down the decor and the shelves when it's not in use. Then I can roll my prop shelves right in front of it. Most of the time, I don't even need to move the pegs. The large wired shelves just slide right in. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with what I have done to maximize space in my little studio.
All right, friends, there you have it. A giant pegboard of your very own, just waiting to be styled in 100 different ways, depending on the type of videos that you create here on YouTube or the space that you want to organize in your home. Remember, if you need a link to anything or need to reference anything that I've talked about in this video, then please be sure that you check out the description box below. Or if you want a step-by-step process on how to make one of these giant pegboards for yourself, then also be sure to check out my blog. The link is in the description box below as well. If you like this video and want to see more of this kind of content here on my channel, then please be sure to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below. Also be sure that you subscribe and you turn the notifications on so that you don't miss a single video. All right, friends, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week for another brand new video.